Dennis Koslowski, as many of you know, was born in South Dakota. Not the Dennis Koslowski who was formerly the CEO of Tyco. He's still in the big house. He wasn't a very good wrestler. But this Dennis Koslowski grew up in South Dakota, and what I really am appreciative about his story is he was always a good athlete, real good football player, obviously a good wrestler, but finished third twice in his high school state. Now, there aren't too many people who didn't win their high school state championship who have gone on to win 3 world and Olympic medals. You know any? I only know one, right? He's sitting right in front of us. And for those of you who saw him compete, and I did, I had the privilege, Dennis, of watching you compete, I can honestly say, and I still don't get this about 92, you were a better wrestler in 92 than you were in 88, and you didn't even wrestle for 3 of those years, which kind of blows my mind. I mean, it says something about your mental capacity and what you understood about the sport, and how good you got. I mean, you were, in my mind, I mean, this is how I think. You're the best 220-pounder Greco-Roman wrestler I've ever seen come out of the United States. Unbelievable athlete, so smart on the mat, so physically dominating, and so mentally tough. And of course, given your background academically, you're a smart guy. I mean, you figured this sport out. You really did understand it. And as I've learned from Wilmer Petrovic in particular, Greco-Roman is a thinking man's sport. You gotta understand where you're at all times. 1988 Olympic bronze medalist. Beat Greg Gibson in 1983 and went on to finish 6th in the world. Had an incredible showdown with him in '84 to make the team, and Greg got the better of you there, but he didn't look back from that point in time. World silver medalist in 1987. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, the match you lost in the 1988 games was against the eventual Olympic champion. And we know something about the sport. How many people remember circumstances where you get, or people we know, get what you call a bad draw, right? And you know something about it? You can't do anything about it, can you? There's nothing you can do about it except decide to compete. So who does Dennis draw? First match of the 92 games in Barcelona, he draws the defending Olympic champion. The guy who beat him in the last Olympics. What does he do? He whoops him. He beats him. And he goes to the finals. And at that point in time, the first man in the history of our sport to go to gold medal match in non-boycotted games against a total stud, the Cuban. Goes to overtime, achieves the silver medal, which is an unbelievable thing, and does so with basically fundamentally a year's worth of training. His brother, another great wrestler, who at heavyweight finished 8th in the world, was a big part of that, I believe. Right? Iron sharpens iron. I can't find a single circumstance that I can remember where champions came out of a room, won world or Olympic championships without somebody in that room pushing them every day. And that's what great wrestlers do for each other. It's what great training partners do for each other. And Dennis, 7-time national Greco-Roman wrestling champion. He didn't even start wrestling Greco-Roman until 1982, and by 1983 he won a national title. There's certainly a lot of God-given ability on your part, but you became a better wrestler. And I honestly believe, after watching your career, that you were a better wrestler in 92 than you ever were. And that's an amazing thing. I think you probably could have won the thing in 96, honestly. I do. I just really do. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the first recognized recipient of this year's Hall of Fame recognition, Mr. Dennis Koslowski.
I'd like to thank the Hall. This is quite an honor. This is like old home week for me. Wayne Bachman was my first world team coach in '81. Mike Howe, Dan Chandler, all the Minnesota guys, also Marcy, just a lot of great memories there. And I think I also helped convince Matt to become Greco wrestler. So this is a great honor and a lot of fun to be here. Now, a lot of the situations around my career have been explained a little bit, but I guess you could say I always wanted to be the best that I could be, and that's kind of a relative term because you know, I was third in state once or twice, and that's not that impressive, but I was the best I could be at the time. But that is something that I always tried to do and worked at as much as I could. My whole history and story is, you know, you heard the story of the tortoise and the hare. Well, I was a snail on the tortoise's back, okay? Things came around kind of slow. And a lot of it was because of real slow physical development. I wrestled 105, 138, 105, 119, 138, 167 through high school, and then started a college career at 77 and was a heavyweight by my senior year. So in 8 years I went from 105 to heavyweight. A lot of things happening there, okay? So, and I got a call just around the Olympics. It's always fun around the Olympics because you come alive again. People like to call you and talk about your memories. And this woman called me. She's from the University of Minnesota Scholarship Fund. And they wanted to interview all the Olympians that had gone to the University of Minnesota. My wife said, well, he went to the University of Minnesota at Morris. And she goes, that's okay, that's under the umbrella. And so she called me and I again said, well, it wasn't the main U, this is Division III. Oh, that's fine. And she goes, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is your scholarship at Division III Morris. And I laughed a little bit and I says, well, Division III is code for no scholarship. And you could see there was a struggle here for her to figure out this. And she says, well, why did you go there then? And I said, well, it's like the country song, if the phone ain't ringing, it must be you. And University of South Dakota, University of North Dakota, University of Minnesota, definitely not the University of Iowa. So she goes, so why'd you go? I go, well, because they have me, Coach wanted me, and so she goes, okay, well, how did it go there? I said, well, I won a couple of Division III titles, and she says, well, why didn't you go Division I at some point? And I said, well, once again, if the phone ain't ringing, it must be you. And I was kind of enjoying it at that point because I knew she understood. She was trying to get to, how did I go from where I was to where I got to be? And she says, well, did you ever wrestle in the Division I's? And actually I did, because in those days, if you won the Division IIIs, you competed in the Division I's. And I said, yeah, I had a stellar 2 times, because I won 2 Division III titles. I had a stellar 1 and 2 record there, and I had one of the better seats in the house, And so finally, my senior year, after football season, I blew out my medial collateral ligament, and I couldn't wrestle my 4th year at that time. And I was running. I actually got up to 10 miles of running, and I get this call from Dan Chandler, and he had heard about me through Brad Rangens, and he says, hey, you want to come out and wrestle the Greco, U.S. Open? And I literally had never wrestled a Greco match in my life, and of course I said, sure. And I said, how do I get there? He says, well, you got to get down to the cities and you got to drive a van out there. You got to drive the team van out there so we can come. We got half guys flying, they're going to ride back. So I got down to the cities and they drove out to Albany, New York with Dave Clarity. That was quite an experience. Ended up losing 2 matches to the eventual 1st and 3rd place winners, Jeff Blatnick and the 3rd place winner, and I lost 1-0, 2-0, wrestled really well, and Dan says, well, you know, you can be Olympic champion. And I believed him, and that was kind of the beginning of it. And so that's where I told the lady, I says, well, that's when I think I realized I could do it. And I found out later that Dan told everyone that, but it meant a lot to me at the time. So anyway, as far as being the best as you can be, and then what ended up happening is, because I always wanted to be the best, I was able to surround myself with, you know, Brad Raines, Dan Chandler, Pelso, Marcy, Al Rice, all these great former, future great wrestlers, and so I think ultimately I ended up being better than the best that I could be. Thank you.
Then it's not just better than the best you could be, you became the best in the world. I mean, that's impressive and so well deserved.